The Secret Knowledge, Part 2. This one is titled The Wars. And by the time we get to the end of this segment, you're going to know why it's titled The Wars. And here's the deal, folks. Doesn't look like it's ever stopped. I've asked the question a lot and continue to ask the question because it's a question I ask myself. How do you know what you do not know or understand? And it's always a reminder for myself to know this. No one knows everything. Our species doesn't know everything. We don't even understand how our solar system works. Don't even understand the planets. So it's always a good grounding for all of us to never criticize that maybe rubs our core the wrong way, right? Because there is a knowledge, believe it or not, that is one that we don't know about. This was not the first nuclear bomb, atomic bomb. History says that 1945 was when Oppenheimer found that formula. But even he said, when asked, well, how does it feel to bring and break the atom? He says, no, you're mistaken. I'm just merely the first one to do it in modern times. He knew, as well as some of you, and about all of us are going to find out here real quick. So the first recorded atomic war using thermonuclear weapons, 4,000 to 2,500 BC. Yet there are records that says that it's even earlier than that, 12,000 BC. And yet there is evidence that it could be as old as 23 million years ago. The culture, the people, the race of India, I think, have been very much maligned in what they bring forth to the collective consciousness. It's replete in their sacred writings, but the world has been taught that, well, India, nuclear war, it has been rumored and thought for some time that there is evidence that there was an exchange of nuclear weapons. Now, some scientists have said that they have been able to identify the date about 2,500 BC. And even the people of India today, of the modernism, of the new gods, are taught that these are just merely myths. But you know something? What I found odd and interesting, there is a proverb that says, let everything be established in the mouth of two or more witnesses. The rich culture and history of India has it in multiple witnesses' mouths, written down. So we're going to read this. And now this is 4 distinct different stories so that you listening and those of you who are watching, you will understand 4 separate accounts. Let's go through the first one. It says, Gurkha, flying a swift and powerful Vienna, it's an aircraft, hurled a single projectile charged with all the power of the universe. An incandescent column of smoke and flame as bright as 1,000 suns arose in all its splendor. A perpendicular explosion with its billowing smoke clouds, the cloud of smoke rising after the first explosion formed into expanding round circles like the opening of a giant parasols. Well, anyone want to take a bet against that? That whoever wrote this was probably as freaked out as we were the first time we saw it. Let's go on to another account. It was an unknown weapon, an iron thunderbolt, a gigantic messenger of death, which reduced to ashes the entire race of the Vishnus and the Antakas. The corpse were so burned as to be unrecognizable. Hiroshima? The hair and nails fell out. Pottery broke without apparent cause. The birds turned white. After a few hours, all foodstuffs were infected. To escape from the fire, the soldiers threw themselves into streams to wash themselves and their equipment. It also sounds to me like they were trying to get themselves decontaminated, if they even knew what, who knows? All right, let's listen to another account. Dense arrows of flame, like a giant shower, issued forth, encompassing the enemy. A thick gloom swiftly settled upon the host. All points of the compass were lost in the darkness. Fierce wind began to blow upward, showering dust and gravel. Birds choked madly. The very elements seemed disturbed. All right, hands down, that is a thermonuclear explosion. The last one, the earth shook, scorched by the terrible violent heat of this weapon. Elephants burst into flame, ran to and fro in a frenzy over a vast area. Other animals crumpled to the ground and died. From all points of the compass, the arrows of the flame rained down continuously and fiercely. Wow. Wow. I mean, what do you say to that? Whoa. All right. Now, here's an interesting thing. When they found the young king's tomb, the amulet that was on the body was this scarab. And you can see here that the center of that is what they called Libyan glass. Here's the weird thing about it, and the debate, by the way. They actually contest the elements within the glass, and they have found this, and it's known as Libyan desert glass. It dates back to about 23 million BC. Now, some scientists have postulated that what caused this was that it was an airburst meteor or asteroid, much to the same thing that happened to Tuskegee in Russia. Well, unlike the explosion in Russia in 1918 that left a hell of a crater, by the way, in the Libyan desert, there is no evidence. And even if it was an airburst, it would most likely, if it had caused the type of temperatures necessary to melt sand, well, there's no evidence of any meteorite of any kind ever producing that type of heat. Now, the mystery even gets a little weirder, and that is this. There are numerous places on the planet that show clear evidence of some type of radioactive device. Now, whether that be a thermonuclear device, we can expect that when we find, for instance, asteroid impacts, but these have absolutely no signs of that happening. So it remains a mystery as to why we have multiple sites around the globe that show indications of a thermonuclear battle. explosions. I say battle because it apparently seems to be that way. Cities destroyed. Now, in the Bible, we all know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. But it is told in a context, folks, and here's what really gets me. People actually think that there is some figure in the sky pointing his finger down and letting loose a lightning bolt. They really believe that. Fortunately, we know differently. But no matter, the point is that was a thermonuclear device. Now, was it part of a war? I doubt retribution, but there are so many gods, and many of them are very temperamental, psychopaths, actually. So who knows? But the fact that radioactive weapons were used on humanity. Now, that's my point I'm trying to drive home here, folks. Cut out your religious belief. Cut out what you think you know. Flush it down the toilet. Do whatever you have to do, but get rid of it. And approach this with a new set of eyes. Look at with the eye from within. And begin to understand that if you take this, that you are a part of a collective called Homo sapiens. We have a long history of ancestors that preceded us. Those ancestors saw things that we can't even imagine. This is but one. Flying saucers 4,000 years ago? Yes. The people of India had them. Tells me that they were pretty advanced. Now, maybe the Chinese that say that they had flying carpets. What if, ladies and gentlemen, that there is a history that has been hidden from us, that where our species have made tremendous leaps in technology, but something happened. Something collapsed, both physically and I also say consciously. We see the carvings, not just in one country. We have records saying 6,000 years ago. They have found sites in India where it looked like this was a battlefield with their skeletal remains. Unimaginable weapons. But man, in his, I don't know, is it arrogance? Is it pride? It's something. But we dare not admit that there was someone here before us now who were a lot smarter. So what are we talking about here, folks? Seriously, what are we talking about here? Gods? Angels? Aliens? What's the deal here? Because these gods, Lord Krishna, is older than Yahweh. Apparently, maybe even older than the Sumerian gods. I don't know. We never give enough study, enough credibility to their culture, the same that we do with other cultures. Chinese, Aborigines. So you tell me, who are the true gods? I ask you this. You see, this title of this series is The Secret Knowledge. I will continue to ask you personally, what makes you think your God is the right God? What are you using the Bible? What are you using? What, some document? And by saying that, you're saying that these other documents are merely fanciful imaginations. But they're saying it about you. So tell me, who are the true gods? We live in a reality of illusion, folks. We do. It's hard for us to accept that, I know. But the evidence is everywhere. It really is. And what I keep asking myself, histories. Whose history? Because there is a lot of different versions of history that's not talked about, not written about, not discussed. But yet, they have just as much evidence to show that it is just as true as this illusionary history that we're taught. I mean, wherever you go, wherever you go. Now, this is just a montage. I mean, so if we see this throughout cultures, throughout time, my question is, so just how advanced are we today? Because if you're saying that we have progressed, I say there's a lot of evidence that would say we have digressed more than we have progressed. And if we have digressed in our mental capacities, in our ability to understand, our ability to comprehend, our ability to apprehend, then I would dare say that that would imply directly that that works for our consciousness as well. That is what the evidence is saying. Folks, you see, I can believe in this history more than I can believe what took place in a small little nation that everyone seems to have this cockamamie idea that the whole freaking world emerged from that. And in the arrogance of such, what do you say? When you diminish, make no account of a culture that's even more rich in its history than that of the Hebrews. Are you telling me that this never happened? Who is Lord Krishna? Who's Kali? Are you telling me that these gods don't exist? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying it's only one God? Then you're calling a whole race of people a liar. That's what you're doing. Personally, I think that's very dangerous territory. You know, maybe if this was discussed on the world platform of their history, might fill in some blanks that we're missing in ours. But know this, ladies and gentlemen, there have been atomic wars. Evidence all over. Thermonuclear wars. So why have we ignored this? You know why? Because again, who is the puppet master? Madam, sir, who's pulling the strings here? Why do we continue to ignore the evidence that our ancestors look at this as though it's a message in a bottle? They knew our memories were going to be wiped. They sent forth their warnings. But in our arrogance and our ignorance to our own harm, we have done just that. Ignored. Why? And here's the other thing. If this is true, how much more is also true? Because I'm about to show you the second part of our episode here that's going to cause you to question even more what the hell is going on. So you tell me, what is the actual history? I would be willing to bet the farm this is more accurate of a history than the crap that we've been taught. Might be good that we start studying maybe the Vedic. Start studying these ancient books. There's knowledge and there's a warning. There is a war that predates mankind. It's a war that either we got caught into, as I have said before, maybe we don't even matter, but apparently we do. Because there have been great lengths to cover up what is real. Now, please understand this. All of our preconceived perceptions, what we build within ourselves, because we all have to build from the same pile. Now, how it ends up and finishes in your head, in your soul, in your mind, is uniquely yours. But what we have been fed is a deliberate illusion generated during the Dark Ages. And that has congealed temporarily our collective consciousness and how we view this subject matter. This is a war mankind cannot see. The imagery that you're seeing here, remember, this is an illusion. We have no evidence of any kind that this actually exists. However, the conundrum is we also have very detailed records. So which is true? This is the angelic and actually the alien wars. This is probably the greatest battle that has been raging for, I don't know, epochs. That's the best thing I can title it to. I don't think mankind knows. But I can tell you this, it's happening now. Is this what the angels truly are? We think that they're human-like. Humanity is in a war we know not how to fight, folks. I believe we did at one time, but that knowledge has been taken away. As I've said before, how do you know what you do not know or understand? You've got to continually ask yourself on that, because otherwise, this is going to get so freaky that your cognitive mind is going to say, I can't handle what this cat's saying. But hear me out. Is this truly Michael? Now, I know a lot of you that have your Christian-based beliefs are saying, Wayne, you've gone over the edge. But sir, madam, I'm trying to pull you from the edge. Because you see, this is what your illusion is. This is what we've been told. This is what we've been programmed to believe as real. Listen, if they exist, angels, then they can only be classified as aliens. Because this race of beings has proven themselves to be far above us. They can coexist in multiple dimension realities and universes. And here's the thing. Now, I grew up studying the Bible, 40 plus years at it. And I always found it fascinating that in the New Testament, I found teleportation, I found interdimensional coexistence, I found new races of unseen entities, I've seen telepathy, I have seen, seen is by reading. Let me just clarify that. The laws, the physical laws, bent, never broken, just bent. And that was always the thing that always fascinated me, was like, whoa. Now, I can remember as well, some 20 plus years ago, having this distinct vision that we weren't seeing what was really there. And now that we have a better understanding of reality, we're starting to pull this in. All I am saying is this who is ruling us. Listen, let's take the approach that these are angelic beings, right? Okay, so we're going to do a detailed forensic analysis. And then when we get to the end, we're going to come back and revisit this. So their species is long-lived. They are masters of the ether and elements. They can alter the appearance, their appearance, at will. Think about that. They taught humanity the secrets of creation, of the unseen realm. They taught us alchemy. They taught us spells of the sacred words, spells of the elements. Also, they taught us the spell of games, the spell of rituals, and the spells of enchantments. And it's all in our daily lives today. Every one of these things right here is in your life. It's what makes you up. It's what forms your basis of reality. It forms your basis of how you perceive yourself. Now, this is what we get. We have been taught, and those of you who have studied angelic cultures, of which I have, studied their alphabet, studied how in Kabbalah we have a whole different understanding. I've read in also many different religions. But here we're going to stay with the Christian theme, that Michael serving the Christian God. Really? How would you know the difference? How would you know the difference? Which is it? Tell me. Hard to, isn't it? And remember, all the illustrations, the allegories, the metaphors, the stories, the paintings are all from the Dark Ages. But the only thing you can say that whatever the species is, they have advanced technology, very advanced technology. Maybe they never saw an actual being flying. How would you know that that being didn't have a certain technology, could bend gravity around you, form a sphere, and then create your own literal bioenvironment within that sphere? Learning that you could draw upon the ley lines, that you could find particular intersections on the planet where you could actually have energy of an unseen, free energy. Oh, that's right. That's what Tesla was doing, wasn't it? He figured it out, folks. Now, if we could take off the religiosity of the soul blindness and maybe grow up. I mean, folks, think about it. Your belief systems, Christianity is a new kid to the table. So what you're saying is that, the rest of the time that, that God didn't really figure it out. He favored this group over here and then he changed his mind. He wanted to make his audience bigger. And then what you're saying, well, then all the rest of these people, they've seen, they're just eating mushrooms. No. Maybe it's been this way all the time. Their numbers exceed 100 trillion. So where do they exist? I mean, they have to have a base of some kind, right? I mean, even if you go with the religious stories, there's a heaven, right? It's where everyone's going to lay their hat, and have their own mansion. I don't know. I'm just saying they have to exist somewhere. And I still ask this question, to which God do they serve? Because even the story as it's told, it has more holes in it than Swiss cheese. And they are clearly at war. If we know that there have been thermonuclear weapons used in the not so far distant past, And when did the war begin? And why did it begin? What are they fighting? You know, you can't say, oh, well, Wayne, they're fighting evil. Well, evil is subjective to examination. Just because something may be evil to you from a whole different point of view and perspective, they may be seeing it as very good. Why we have idioms replete in our language. One man's trash is another person's treasure, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yeah. One thing I do know with the angelics, if we take it from the point of view, that these beings are of an angelic species, race. I know this. They have their own alphabet. And if you study these, you'll see them in today. You'll see them in Wiccan. You'll see them in a lot of other different religions. This is an old, old language. And if you look at certain letters like P, you'll see this symbol all over the world. You'll see a lot of them. And the thing about it is, going with the angelic theme, that these are angelics. Now, maybe we know they can alter their appearance, their shape, their forms. So you have to include that now into the mathematical equation. And the thing about it is, they're everywhere. They go by different names, but they all come back to the single cast of characters here. And when you begin to look at this, you can begin to see how the Hebraic language comes in. I can just tell you, it's amazing. Yeah. So we know their names. Now, we've been led to believe that they serve a particular God. Okay. Now I'm going to give you the other side that's not taught. So we're still keeping in the vein that these are angelic beings. They have a specific purpose, and they do have a very interesting structure. So let's go through this. So the angels rule the seven heavens. There is a throne of angels. There are 64 angel wardens of the seven celestial halls. That's the seven levels of heaven. You have governing angels of the 12 months. You have spirits, messengers, intelligences of the seven planets. Well, that's a whole different race of characters here, beings. Then you have angelic governors of the zodiac. Okay? You got archangels and angels of the 7 days of the week. You got angelic governors of the seven planets. And by the way, there are seven planets. I had this discussion. Just because mankind continues to add to them doesn't matter. There is a law and a reality above mankind's law and reality. So I continue. Then you have the angelic governors of the hours of the day and night. Actually, it goes down to the second. You got 72 angels bearing the name of God, which is never exposed. You have 70 amulet angels invoked at the time of birth. So every one of us have these guys. Then you got 76 angels that have the Metatron. Yeah. You got the great archons. You got the chief angel princes of the altitudes. You got 28 angels ruling in the 28 mansions of the moon. You got archangels of the Sephiroth. You have archangels of the unholy Sephiroth. What? Well, how? You see where you come on this? You see, one of the things I could never figure out was Job 1:9. How the hell did Satan go before God? Didn't think that anything with sin could stand before God. I know, I used hell. All right, well, let's go on. Then we have the watchers. Then we have the seraphim, the chief celestial angel princes. And when you study these cats, I mean, there are either kingdoms within kingdoms, realities within realities, dimensions within dimensions, or this is one crowded planet you and I live on. Because I ask, where is all of this taking place? Now, you got archangels of punishment, angels of punishment. But folks, here's the thing. It's not about punishing you. Got nothing to do with humanity, other than the fact that this is about death. Now, punishment has been taught wrongly. Consequences. I mean, you can come into this in a number of different ways. But again, this is associated with death. Now you have the names of Lilith. Again, why Lilith was removed from the King James Bible is amazing. I know why. I know why she was removed when they formed Christianity. I can't explain her. Because if they began to tell you what Lilith really is, well, then you got to throw the whole book out. But here are the names associated with Lilith. Then you have the fallen ones. Then you have the Yazdic archangels. These are apparently some very bad hombres. So you tell me, myth, legend, real, or neither? I mean, they've taken great steps to at least tell someone that this is how it is. And here's the interesting thing. Apparently, angels can die. My question is, if they die, where do they go? And throughout all cultures, all through the occult, all through religions, all through the mystics, they're here, powerful. If you don't think we live in a reality of magic, you're under that spell. Whatever these creatures are, and to whatever God they serve, it has to do with us. Because they spend a lot of time on us. They spend a lot of time interfering with us. They have a lot of time where they've jacked with us. They've killed us. They've murdered us. They've slaughtered us. They apparently have raped us. But we just simply, oh, Wayne, you're getting all wrapped around the axle. Yeah. Because it's that prevailing attitude that stinks. It's the one that's held us back. When there's magic, which we call magic, what are you going to call this? What kind of technology word do you want to assign to it? It alters the elements. It creates entrances to the ether. Yeah. If most of what they would teach about what the Hebrews, what Moses brought out of Egypt, you'd be surprised, folks. Not what you've been taught. But again, they want us to know their structure. And when we've read the stories, when they've shown up, they bring death. And how can you have occultism and magic when you're using all the names of God? How do you invoke the names of God in casting spells? How do you invoke the names of God in opening portals? How do you invoke the names of God to draw out of the unseen? I don't know. But they dominate everything. dominate everything about us when you really get down to it. And there that you cannot read fast enough in a lifetime what is written. You can't. Because you end up seeing what I have seen is that you seem to end up hitching your horse to one set of wagons. I don't know. Symbolism? Oh, yeah. The magic of words? Oh, yeah. And as I said, they continue to show up today. All of them have their foundation in ancient script. So can all of this just be fake? Could mankind be making this up ourselves? I mean, think about it. Have we created this reality? Are we under an illusion? I mean, which is it? One thing I do know, humanity knows very little about who's good or bad. But one thing is certain, they've been here before us. Their numbers exceed us. They're very obviously at war with us. Why? Why is it that we don't know about this? Why isn't this taught from the very earliest points when, as children, before the age of 5? Why aren't we teaching this to the 2-year-olds, the 3, the 4s, and the 5? By the time they get to the point where they're beginning to form their cores, this is ingrained. I mean, what does humanity have that they do not? I mean, why lord it over? Is it just that they're so cruel? I mean, at what point in time, and time is the thing here, that this continues? Is it because we possess a soul? Is that what makes us so unique? So, angel, alien, demon? Or could it just be this, folks? Could it really just be this? All of it. Angels? Spirits? Aliens? What else are we going to discover that has already happened? My question to you as I end this program on the wars, is humanity deceived? Are these our oppressors? Our benefactors? Which is it? The next installment, we will be dealing with the fragments, the force, the hidden evidence, the life force, and we're really going to get into the secret societies. Maybe as I end this, think about what we now know today and begin to put it on your balance scales. And let's see how the balance scales balance out. We'll talk soon. Be kind to one another.